It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not even about us. It's about legacy. It's about what we choose to leave behind for future generations. And that's why, for the next year, and for the first time since 1974, the best and brightest men and women of nations and corporations the world over will pool their resources, share their collective vision to leave behind a brighter future. It's not about us. Therefore, what I'm saying, if I'm saying anything, is welcome back.
So Len, as I just said, it's sort of bizarre to be sitting next to the man who, if you weren't here, there would be no Wolverine, no Swamp Thing, no X-Men revival. It's a weird concept.
Only the people who know who those guys are.
I think there's a few people that know Wolverine these days. So, from what I understand, comic books were an important part of your youth. There was some hospitalization, and Can you tell us about what happened there?
I've never been healthy my entire life. I was once told I would never live to be 25, and they were wrong, so there. But when I was young, when I was 7, I was in the hospital for one of the first times, and my father brought me a bunch of comic books to read, just to keep me occupied. This is back in the days when comic books were 10 cents a piece. And I fell in love. I just loved comics. I read them, I collected them, I spent all of my spare money on them. I would go out and collect, used soda cans and bottles to get the redemption money so I could buy more books. I was hooked.
So what were you reading at that point? Who was it that was hooking you? What was it about? Is it the stories, the characters? What got you hooked?
Well, at that point, it was basically Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the DC characters. There were only the 3 superheroes at that point in time. And the other characters were all adventure characters. Rip Hunter, Time Master, and the Challengers of the Unknown, and the Sea Devils, and all of them in the same group, basically, composed of one heroic leader, his girlfriend, her kid brother, and his buddy, the strongman. They all had the same essential group. But I just loved the adventure aspect of it. I loved the ability to go places in your mind that you couldn't do otherwise. I was always a voracious reader, and comics just touched me in a way nothing else did.
So, with that idea of doing a lot of reading, who were your fictional heroes at the time as you were growing up? Other than, outside of comic books, did you have some fictional heroes as well?
Well, I was, again, a voracious reader. I loved anything written by Rod Serling. The Twilight Zone is probably the major reason I became a writer. I loved Ray Bradbury. Just all sorts of writing. I love the music of the language.
Fantastic. So what about real life heroes? Who were you looking to in the news or the history, or who were you?
If I had to pick one person, Edward R. Murrow.
And why? And let's some of the audience isn't going to know who that is.
Edward R. Murrow. There was a wonderful movie made by George Clooney about 10 years ago called Good Night and Good Luck. Ed Murrow was a radio newscaster back in the days when they didn't just read off the prompters, when they actually wrote their own articles. Guys like himself, and Walter Cronkite and various others. During World War II, Ed Murrow reported from London. He would stand on rooftops during the Blitz as bombs were falling all around him and go, "This is Edward R. Murrow, and this is London," and tell you what was going on. And bombs were literally falling hundreds of feet from where he was standing, and he wouldn't move. You know, there's a great line from James Cagney, the classic actor, about how to act, which is, you hit your mark, you plant your feet, and you tell the truth. And I think that's so important, because so little of that is being done today.
Rosie's Walk was my very, very first book, and it started off as a book about animal noises, and it was very, very long, and in fact very, very boring. And I showed it to my editor, Susan Hirschman, and she read through it, and it started off, this is the farmer, this is his dog that barks, this is his cow that moos, this is his horse that neighs, this is his cat that meows, and it went on and on and on. And there was one line in it that said, and this is the fox, he never makes a noise. And Susan, my editor, looked at that line and said, I like that line, Pat. Why don't you just take the story away and think along those particular words, this is the fox, he never makes a noise. So the book my story that started off with like hundreds of words eventually ended up with 32 words, because I decided that I should treat the story almost like a silent film, so that they're not really, the fox isn't mentioned at all, and so that the reader knows what's happening. But poor Rosie, totally innocent, has no idea what's happening. So this is Rosie's Walk. Rosie the hen went for a walk. Across the yard, around the pond, over the haycock, past the mill, through the fence, under the beehives, and got back in time for dinner. The drawings, I was limited to 3 colours on the drawings, which gives it that patterned effect, because I had to have a black line to work to. So the only colours I could use were yellow, red and black. So I was stuck with like oranges, because if you mix the yellow and the red together, you can get the orange. And the yellow and the black, you could get the greens. And the black and the red, you could get the brown. So very limited. But that gave it that particular style to Rosie. This book is called Changes, Changes. I wanted to do a book about something changing, but I didn't want to do the butterfly caterpillar bit because it'd been done so many times. And then at that particular time, our son Morgan was 4 years old, and he'd got a set of building bricks he used to play with. So I'm afraid we sort of nicked them off him, and with a lot of help from my husband, we tried to make lots of machines and houses and whatever we could out of these same blocks. So there's no cheating. It's using exactly the same amount of blocks. Wanted to start off with a house. This is the boat we made from this same amount, no cheating. And the house. And a lorry. So they start off with, those are the bricks. And they start building. And they build a house, but the house catches fire. So they have to dismantle it and start to build. Now, hopefully the child can see what's happening here. They build a boat, sail away. No more water. So they dismantle the boat, start building. Build a lorry, off they go. And then the lorry breaks down. So they dismantle the lorry, start building. Build a train engine. Then they reach the end of the line. So they start building and build another house. That's the end. And that's a book that the children can read themselves and read into it. This is a book called One Hunter. And when I always do lots of roughs before I start on the finished drawings. And I did it all very painterly. But then I decided it's a counting book. So it has to be patterns so that a small child can actually read out the patterns. So it can go like 1, 2, 3. They're very specific patterns. I tried doing it in cut-out paper, and I ended up with more paper on me than on the board. So I gave that idea up. And there's another version that I was trying to get there to get those patterns, but even that didn't work. So I went back to my 3 colours again with the outline, which makes patterns. So there's 1 hunter, 1, 2 elephants, 1, 2, 3 giraffes. So they're patterns that the small child can pick out, not confusing them with a lot of detail. 4 ostriches. And then I put little clues in so that the reader can try and guess what's coming up. So it's 5 antelopes, and here little clues, little stripes there. 6 tigers, more clues here. 7 crocodiles, tails coming in. 8 monkeys, more clues. 9 snakes. 10 parrots. And then we go reverse. 10 parrots, 9 snakes. 8 monkeys, 7 crocodiles, 6 tigers, 5 antelopes, 4 ostriches, 3 giraffes, 2 elephants, and they're all chasing him. And 1 hunter, and he's being chased off by all the animals.
I'm gonna give you a real good chance, Jack, just because we used to be amigos. Back to back, count off 10 paces, and then we both start blazing away. Blast each other into the land of glory. May the best man win. And keep Sarita. It's all right, honey. You've come this far with 2 old friends. You might as well see them finish it up. We're just playing out the string. Lupo la pistola.
Estás, jefe.
Yeah. Call it tequila.
Come on, Cash.
Show us some tit if you want to be useful. Give us some motivation. You ready?
Everybody back off. This is between him and me. Atrás, cabrones.
One, 2.
Catch, move.
Oh, shit. Look, honey, if you're gonna cry, it just fucks it all up. It lowers the whole tone. I mean, this ain't just dog shit we're doing here. These are 2 men you love laying it on the line. And a little more leg. Cash, get over here. Sex is eternal. That's a good girl. No change, no Sarita. You tear off a piece there, you always get meat.
You bastard! Coming up! Boothe!
Now we all cook it. Everybody ready?
I gotta ask, you wanted all of this. What did you think would happen?
You don't understand what it's like to be brought up in faith.
We were C&E Catholics. Sure, it's no death cult.
And you know we all have our sins. I believed that I could resurrect a god. But instead I freed the devil. The devil promises everything. And then lets you destroy your own world. I sacrificed my brother to him. Still, he took my daughter. And that image of her body lying on that floor, I failed her. What else matters?
What you do next matters.
You trying to sell me on the idea that I can set everything right?
I'm trying to sell you on revenge.
I never saw my last rodeo being with S.H.I.E.L.D. What would you like to know?
There's still a chance for us, you know?
What are you talking about?
We're the superior ones, you and I. We should be running the world.
I don't think so.
Pity. You had your chance. Now you can feel the pain.
I want you to know it's over.
Well. Bye.
Smells like someone died.
Jesus, Johnny. All right. Take Stillwell. Finish it.
You never did get it, did you, you big bald fuck? She was made to be a killer, just like you. It was gonna be perfect. All right. Just tell me, did you kill her? Diana. Is she really dead? You will never know.
Evening, officer. I don't have to introduce myself, do I? You read the papers? It's been an election year. You've seen plenty of my picture. You know who I am and what I can do. I'm doing you, Hardigan. Cold and hard, I'm doing you. Kryptonite. The ultimate bane to Superman. If he were only as big as my head. I spent 2 years and $3 billion mining outer space, and this green grain of rice is all I have to show for it? I am so happy. No, wait. I'm sad.
Sir?
Lex 9000 is supposed to bust up meteors, not Superman. News of this could ruin me. Well, can't beat ringside. Mercy, microwave some popcorn. Brainiac and Lex 9000 made quite a team. They were yay close to offing the Big Blue Boy Scout. Master protocols for the command and control of our nuclear arsenal. I never knew how much I didn't know till I read that book.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I've always been in this business almost now, 45 years now. And I started when I was 20, and I started in New York, and I was on All My Children. I was the original Children of All My Children, along with Susan Lucci, the famous daytime queen of soap opera. She was one of the children, you know, always trying to break up me and my girlfriend. And then I was doing plays, and I did a musical off Broadway called Love Me, Love My Children. And then I moved back to LA and did a whole bunch of guest star roles on Hawaii Five-0, The Waltons, Medical Center, shows like that. And then I ended up replacing Michael Douglas on Streets of San Francisco with Carl Malden. From that, I got cast in Battlestar Galactica without ever having to read, and played Captain Apollo on the biggest budgeted TV series in history at the time. And then I've done a slew of, like I said, so many episodic and movies of the week, and I was even on Santa Barbara, which is another soap, for a while. And then I've just done a lot of little indie projects that I find interesting. And I started writing novels and books. I've written 7 Battlestar books. I now have this new series called Guam, which I'm developing and I wrote, coming out as an online social networking game. It's coming out as a novelization next year. It'll also be a series of graphic novels. It's a new big epic sci-fi series. I'm into very visionary, intelligent sci-fi. I've never been one for cheesy sci-fi. It's not my thing. Well, went out and wrote a whole script, and then we went out and shot for about a year, almost. Weekends here, there, everywhere that we could, shooting. And I had like an epic. I mean, I had like so much film. And then I put it together into about 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And I remember playing it for Volker Engel, and he looked at it and said, well, you got a problem here. He said, you know, to really make this look right, make it look good, and the post and the CGI and all the stuff you're going to have to do is going to cost you a fortune. He says, my suggestion to you is to cut it down to a trailer. And so he took me over to Dreamscape, and they did some of the modeling for the ships, and then they did some of the compositing, and I started learning about all of that, and then we also did the first edit. They did the first edit with me over there, which is a 2-minute thing. And then I brought it back, and all the stuff that we'd shot before, I basically, with Jay Wolfel and Scott, we borrowed shots from all that stuff we'd shot before, and we built the 2-minute into a 4-minute. And then we got Dean Cundy to come over for one day and shoot with his equipment and a cold hamburger, and we shot some extra shots that day, and then we just kind of put together the best of all of it, you know, and ended up with a trailer that debuted at Dragon Con that got this. It was like most powerful moment of my life to have the absolute silence at the end of this trailer, and everybody had heard about this trailer, this mythological Battlestar trailer that nobody knew if it was real or not. And then all of a sudden, here comes this panel, and they're going to play the trailer, and it was like all these Battlestar fans came out of the woodwork, and everybody showed up, and we had, God, thousands of people in there. It was huge. And we played it, and there was absolute silence at the end of it. I'm thinking, oh, they hated it, you know, and that's the worst fear, because fans are pretty particular. If you screw up things or change things too much, and
Just ask Dotrice.
well, my whole premise was not to change it, but to build upon it, so that I kept all the underpinnings of the original Battlestar, but that I up-leveled the ships, the designs, the technology, right, and added things without changing the feeling, the energy of it. And so I think we accomplished that, because after that long silence, there was this amazing explosion of cheering for like 10 minutes. Every filmmaker, everybody should have that moment of joy, of feeling like you hit a home run. And there was tears in people's eyes. Right. Well, believe it or not, I took that trailer everywhere. I mean, after we played it at several conventions, Dragon Con, we got all this notice, and we got all these rave reviews, and then Miramax called me, thinking nobody made a trailer back then. When I wanted to make a trailer 10 years ago, everybody laughed. You don't make a trailer without making the movie. Nobody made trailers without a movie back then. Ultimately, it was a labor of love by so many creative people coming together to work together and then ultimately doing the impossible. And then when we actually had a trailer that actually blew people away, especially 10 years ago when CGI was in its infancy, nobody could believe we did what we did. And Harvey Weinstein calls up and I'm freaked out. I couldn't even call back because I was terrified. I thought, I'm going to go to jail. You know, Universal didn't know we shot it. We didn't have a license. We weren't shooting it to make money, but we were shooting it as a presentation to inspire a revival. And so I honestly didn't know what to say. You know, he thought, well, you couldn't make this trailer without having the movie, and you must own it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have done it. You know, so I didn't know. I really didn't know what to do. I probably should have called him and explained the whole thing, and maybe he would have said, "Hey, I'll go in with you," which is, by the way, what happened later. My thought was, it wasn't even about doing it without Glenn Larson. I was just trying to inspire a revival of the original show. That was my whole premise. And so, like I said, he started a lawsuit, and then everybody backed up. Nobody wanted to move forward when he started the lawsuit. You know, Patriot Pictures backed up. Nobody wanted to get involved in all the litigation. I finally had realized Universal. I had taken up to Universal, by the way, and played it for them, to their vice presidents, and they were really shocked. They expected to see a little backyard production. They saw something far more sophisticated. They were blown away, but they still couldn't fathom that there was an audience for Battlestar Galactica. I did one last thing, which was I wanted to do the 25th Battlestar Galactica anniversary, and I co-produced the convention with some of the DragCon people. And I did it up at the Universal City Walk. We played Battlestar the movie on the IMAX, believe it or not. It looked amazing. Except for the matte paintings, it actually looked absolutely amazing. And then I figured, you know, Glenn Larson wanted to do the Pegasus story, and then I heard Ron Moore, and then we're doing a reimagining, and Bryan Singer and Tom DeSanto wanted to do a continuation. Everybody wanted to do their own thing, right? Nobody wanted to do what I had put together in the books and the stuff. Everybody wanted to do their own thing, which I get, I understand. And I mean, there's more than one way to do anything. But I figured, okay, it's only going to be fair to invite everybody. Invite them all there, and they can all hash it out and let the fans make up their own mind what they think. And when I watched the 4-hour miniseries, I couldn't look at it objectively. I couldn't appreciate it. I just almost wanted to push it away. And the funny part was, it was when it got into the series and they actually started the episodes and they got into space, all of a sudden I'm watching this, and then for whatever reasons, the walls came down, the bias and prejudice went out the back window, and I was able to really start appreciating the characters, the story, the backstory, and I thought, oh my God, what they were getting into was what I had wanted to get into 30 years earlier. They were actually getting into the core plot of a post-apocalyptic world and trying to survive, and the life and death struggles of each character. And I got blown away by the artistry of it. And then when Glenn Larson asked me to come in, I was still torn only because I had invested so much time and energy in doing a continuation and had fought so hard for that. But I said, you know, I've said no so many times in my life, being the idealistic, braveheart guy, you know. I'd crashed and burned so many times out of my idealism, and I said, why don't we say yes once and go in, and what's going to hurt you to go in and sit down and listen? And I went down in there, and I really enjoyed talking to Ron Moore, and then the character of the Nelson Mandela style political revolutionary really intrigued me. Finally, I said, you know, I would love to do this. And he said, well, it's a guest star role, but it could turn into a continuing role. And ultimately it did. And anybody that tries anything new, that might be beneficial, but change is hard for people to accept, right? And so it's like movies. People usually like to copy what was successful before, and most people don't like to really brave new ground because the insecurity is too high and the risk is too high. But you know, again, I discovered that when people do get upset, you're doing something right. You know, there are going to be people out there that love you, and there are going to be people out there that hate you. And if you're trying to get everybody to love you, you're never going to do anything right in life. You know, so I always tell people, I said, you know, instead of trying to get approval from everybody, just know one thing. When everybody's upset and pissed off, know that you're going in the right direction.
I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. Mac, obviously, Richard Machowicz. I am the host and producer of a show, a little show on Discovery Channel and the Military Channel called Future Weapons. I don't know if any of you have seen it. I heard there were some gun lovers in the audience, so I really appreciate that. I described the job. I have the coolest guy job ever. There isn't a little boy in the world that wouldn't want to have this job. I get to go around the world. I shoot big guns. I fly an incredible aircraft, and I blow things up for a living. So I feel like I've been very blessed in my whole life. But before that, I was a U.S. Navy SEAL. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I can't tell you how much that means to me. And, I feel really privileged to have served the United States. I was given so much more in that experience than I ever gave. You know what I'm saying? I got so much out of that. The leadership training, I was a sniper, I was a hand-to-hand combat instructor, I taught land mount nautic warfare. I had pretty much done the full loop in SEAL team and had the opportunity to work with these guys and getting them ready to go out into some serious stuff. I just want to say that half of my vocabulary has been taken away from me for this talk. So if anybody's seen the Raiders, you understand that half of my vocabulary is gone. If you see the Cincinnati Bengal thing that we do, again, really half my vocabulary is gone here. But I think that I can deliver something of value to you in this short time that we have together, and I'd really like that opportunity. Because I've been able to do some really cool things with my life and to participate that. And I've had to do those things. I've had to work with people and get something. I have had to overcome real strong opposition sometimes in order to get some things done. And so I understand what it's like to start with nothing and rebuild from nothing. I understand what it's like to do a really difficult job that sounds really sexy, but it's actually cold, wet, miserable, and you can get killed at the end of the day. Okay? So I understand how to show up under extreme situations, difficult situations, and to get things done, and I'd like to talk to you about what it takes to do that. But before I go there, I want to acknowledge you guys. Listen, you are United Rentals. There's no doubt about it. And when I talk to anybody, it's really about what you guys do and the people that work for you guys that make this thing work. You're the largest company in the world doing what you do, and that doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by accident. There's a lot of people working really hard to make something get done, and I like that. I'm all about results. All I care about is getting something done at the end of the day, because I have no idea what's going to happen after this little adventure called my life, and I really want to do everything I can to the very best of my ability until the last moment, the last second I'm here on this planet. So I really appreciate what it's like for you guys to show up every day, make things happen, get the result, and actually build a company now that is the leader in the world. I mean, you guys are the biggest company in the world at what you do. And you're only really in the United States and Canada, which is crazy. Okay? But it wouldn't happen without you individuals and the people that work for you. It doesn't just happen in a boardroom, and it doesn't just happen in a corporate structure. People have to get out there. Your business is all about service, which means connecting to your clients, serving them, bringing them the best stuff that you can do every day, and overcoming all the hurdles and challenges that you have to do on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute basis. So I genuinely respect what you do and how hard it is, especially with everything that happened last year. Last year was a tough year for a lot of people, and I imagine it was a very, very tough for you guys personally. Yet you guys still found a way to still be number one doing what you do. Some of you had to make incredibly difficult decisions, difficult choices, and to do a difficult job. Yet your company still found a way to give to people and to help people. Things like the Extreme Home Makeover. It may sound simple. It may sound kind of cliche. Oh, it's an advertising, whatever. But in the end, you're really fundamentally helping people change their lives by giving them something. And what you guys provide is an opportunity for people to create things, to bring things into existence that didn't exist before. I think that's really special. I think it's really cool. And so I just really hope you understand when I say this acknowledgement, I really, really genuinely appreciate how hard you work, what it takes to show up, and the way you guys do your job. Because being number one is not an easy thing. And more importantly, staying number one is even harder. Especially with the challenges looking forward. We're not all the way through that eye of that needle right now. You know? And you're going to have to show up and bring everything you've got to the thing that you want. The one thing I think I bring to the table is I know what that's like. And I'd like to speak to that with you today. But before I do, I want to make sure, and I'm pretty sure you guys are, but I want to make sure you're on board for me to talk to you for the next half hour about some of the things, the principles that helped me accomplish a lot of lottery ticket items in my life. So if I could, by a show of hands, if I could have a half hour of your time to do something where I can serve you and bring you something special in that half hour, could you be so kind as to raise your hands for me so I can see that you guys are on board to give me a half hour where I can actually make a difference with you, bring you something of value in that half hour? Yes? No? I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate that. I am an interaction guy, as you guess right now. So I'm going to require some feedback back and forth from you. We're going to do this thing real quick. We're going to hammer through this stuff really quick because I know there's other things you want to do today, okay? Probably have a few drinks, relax a little bit, do your stuff, okay? But I also know you're here to get some serious business done, all right? One of the jokes when I asked a gentleman, a couple of you guys were in a Starbucks, and I asked you, well, why are you guys here? And he was joking, but he said, because they made us come here. Okay? You know? Which is great. Because that on some level, that's true, right? On some level, that's true. But on the other level, he understood, and the rest of the group that I was talking to, they understood. There was an opportunity here to share information, to get better at what you do, to learn something from maybe somebody else's mistake. So you have an opportunity over the next couple days to really mine this thing. The one thing that I've done in my life is I mine. And all I'm looking for is gold. Find the one, the two, three things that really put me in a great position to be successful. And I'd like to share some of those things that have worked for me with you today. And you've already given me permission to do that, and you're going to give me permission for your 30 minutes. So here I come, all right? People ask me all the time, what's it like being a SEAL? What does it take to be a SEAL? And it's a tough question. You know, how do you get there? What does it take? At first you go, I really don't know. I really don't know. Somehow I made it. And when I say somehow I made it, I'm like, I was 155 pounds, 6 foot, 155 pounds. There was no one ever willing to give me a shot to think that I could make it through being a SEAL. I was too small, too scrawny, too skinny. There's just no way. I wasn't big enough. I wasn't muscly enough. You know, when I went to be a sniper, I was told, you're blind, dude. What are you going to do to be a sniper? Okay? Are you kidding? And I was the only guy who had to qualify in SEAL team to go to sniper training because I was pretty blind, okay? But I found a way to overcome that, okay? But I used the same thing to overcome that. As far as getting a book, man, people said I was illiterate. I now have a best-selling book published in 4 languages. I got it doing the same thing that I'm going to share with you. I made it my mission to get a TV show, and I got it on the Discovery Channel and the Military Channel. And the show has been seen by 50 million people worldwide. And I got it doing the same thing. Now I have a development deal at Spike for multiple shows. And I got it doing the same thing I'm going to share with you today. Okay? Because whatever you want, no matter what it is you want in life, it all comes down to your ability to focus. Whatever it is you want, whatever it is, it all comes down to your ability to focus. The problem is, no one ever really teaches us how to focus other than to say, exactly. And we're supposed to understand exactly what that means, and maybe for the most part, we get the gist of what that means. But the problem is that focus is like a laser beam. Move a little to the left or right? Add a little fog or some distance. And the laser either misses the target completely or diffuses to such an extent that it acts like a poor flashlight. If focus is where our mind, body, and spirit converges, then doubt, second-guessing, hesitation, the unknown, stress, pressure, personal baggage, corporate culture and fear are the obstacles that diminish the quality of our laser, that diminish the quality of us and what we are capable of being. Everything comes down to your ability to focus. But what is focus? And when I was trying to work with guys in SEAL Team and when I started doing consulting on the outside, I wanted to create a very clean way of being able to describe and articulate what focus means. Focus is when clarity, concentration, and action converge to create a specific result in the present. Focus is when clarity, concentration, and action converge to create a specific result in the present.
Roy, it's absolutely lovely to see you today at Collectomania. We love your work and the audiobooks for Game of Thrones and on the show as well. What was it like bringing George R.R. Martin's work to life in those audiobooks?
Well, that was it. I think I've done 5 so far, and they've all been very successful. Well, the series has been made out of them. How many have they done in the series now? 3, isn't it? 3. So there's still 2 more to go. And George tells me he's got another one nearly ready, so that'll be at least a few more years' work anyway. But I enjoy doing it. What was interesting, I had to find voices for so many different characters. I think in episode 3, I had to find voices for 240 different characters, and in episode 5, I had to find voices for 310 different characters. So I was beginning to run short of nationalities after a while.
I mean, how do you go about creating all of those different voices and remembering them as well?
Yeah, well, I didn't always remember them. I had to make out a list in alphabetical order of all the characters I'd done. I think I finished up with 17 foolscap pages of all the different characters. And I'd say, wait a minute, have I done that one before? No, I don't think so. And you look it up and find I had done it before. And, I was using whatever kind of accent was required for the part.
Which are your favourite voices that you do? Can you give us a little taste of them?
There was a very gentle character that I liked.
He talked right like that, and he was extremely old and very, very sensitive and extremely sweet man. I quite liked him.
I've forgotten his name now, but there were so many.
How did you find doing Ygritte as well, like the female characters, like You Know Nothing, Jon Snow?
The female characters, I didn't make any attempt at the female characters. I had to play those fairly straight, with a high-pitched voice, of course. But, I couldn't make any attempt at doing female characters.
Do you keep in touch with George about what he's doing?
I get it, yeah. As a matter of fact, on my, my 90th birthday, he came to New York, not New York, to Los Angeles. He came up from deep south where he lives, and spent a couple of days with me in Los Angeles. And he came to a party we had on my birthday night, and he was great fun. So we enjoyed it tremendously. And I hope that he's working on another episode now, and we should be able to record it soon.
Oh, fantastic! Look forward to that, definitely. And of course, you've been in the TV show as well, haven't you? What did you enjoy about your character on that?
Yeah, well, I was supposed to be in. I was supposed to have a leading role in the series, but unfortunately, I got cancer, and I had to go into hospital and have all kinds of operations and things. Well, I'm totally cured of it now. Totally cured.
That's good. Good.
They didn't have a part they could find for me, so I played, what was his name?
Yeah.
What was he?
Pyromancer.
Pyromancer, yeah, whatever that is. Yeah, at least I was in it. And they have promised that when they find the right part, I can come back and do something else.
Oh, we'd absolutely love to see that. And one of our viewers is wondering whether you still keep in touch with Ron Perlman, who you worked with so memorably on Hellboy 2 and also Beauty and the Beast.
Well, that's true, yes. And because, you know, I worked with Ron Perlman on not only on Hellboy, but he's such a great actor, Ron, and we did Beauty and the Beast together for many years. And I still see a lot of him. We have lunch most Fridays at a little restaurant we know in Los Angeles. I'm going back to Los Angeles. I have to go back in December, but I don't know for how long this time.
And finally, what would you like to say to the fans out there that you've made throughout your career, and especially from the Game of Thrones audiobooks and your part in the show?
They are amazing. They really are. They are true friends because, you know, they support you, and just evidence of that today. This queue a mile long for autographs, you know, and they're such nice people. They're so pleasant and flattering. Because I think my efforts are just fairly ordinary, but they make them sound as if they're extraordinary. Well, you're very sweet. And the fans, I love them.
Our field, our current Whelen Modified Tour point leader. 2 wins this season, 18 career victories in the AWT, DWD, JAT, TSI Chevrolet from the Ville, Plainville, Connecticut. Car number 13 for Ted Christopher.
You ever find these at the boo? Oh no, that's great. They always say, you know, if they're cheering and booing, at least they're acknowledging me, and they acknowledge me more than anybody, so that's the best.
All the awards are coming from last race at the Hutchins International Speedway. First one is the Featherlight Most Improved Award. The winner of that award is Ted Christopher.
They can do it again, so.
And the next award is the Tommy Baldwin Memorial Award, and the winner of that award, once again, Ted Christopher.
Man, are we glad he didn't win the pole? This is exciting stuff. We're going racing.
And you hear the roar. Having an odd number starting position might be a little bit of an advantage. That would be to start on the bottom. First yellow comes out on lap number 19.
Yeah, I think this is Somali's first race too. He looks like he's trial this car, the Featherlight Modified over here, and then we'll have a feature lineup for the SK and run the SK feature 35 laps and then run the tour car 150 laps. I got kind of ribbon on your finger for that. Yeah, no, I got it. Well, in the first one,
The second one, last one out?
last one out,
You ran a 37, but coming out of,
yeah, a little.
coming out of 2?
I told Ricky
You
it's
can
too
actually
loose.
see the
That's where
edge
it's
come off
loose.
the tire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's why I told him it's too loose stuff off, you know?
Yeah.
So he put some wedge to it and stuff and changed some. Yeah, it just needed to be a little bit better there. It's not, you know, once you put the suit on, you sort of get used to it. It is hot. I'm not going to tell you it isn't hot.
The heat it'll make the car a little bit loose. It'll make everybody's in the same boat, though. It's not, you know, it won't affect one more than the other.
Yeah, the track's pretty warm, so that's why it's slow. A lot of heat in it. Everything's good, yeah, real good. See how far back I got to start, you know, that's the only thing. I don't know, I think they do the points deal and money one. I may haven't won much in the last, yeah.
Spotting for Teddy can be pretty interesting. It demands a lot.
It starts to, like, tighten up a little bit off onto the straightaway, but not too bad.
He likes to pass cars no matter where he is.
Pass somebody if they're standing on there, you know, they go like this, and then if you can come in and get a good run off the bottom. That's why you're doing the hill helps you out.
If we start in the back, it doesn't really affect us that much because we know he can get right to the front. He's not afraid to jump to the outside or, you know, to make a move sometimes that most other drivers wouldn't make. Sometimes it hurts us, and other times it ends up getting us the win.
Well,
A lot of people don't like him because he wins too much, but you know what? He's top driver. He deserves to win. He knows what he's doing in the car. He handles the car well. I'm grateful for him.
Teddy Christopher is a phenomenal driver. He's absolutely phenomenal, and I love to come and watch him race.
Teddy's fast, and Teddy maneuvers, and Teddy will bump you and get you out of the way.
Good battle going on right now with Christopher and Beers. I just saw a little bumper tag getting out of turn 4.
Was there any love lost with anybody when Ted Christopher is concerned?
Well, I think at one point in time, Teddy's probably given the bumper to everybody who's ever sat in a race car, so he's got a pretty big list.
He's even given it to me in the parking lot one time.
That wouldn't surprise me. So got a wreck coming out of 2 here.
Wow, that thing is freaking destroyed.
You know, he likes to win like anybody, and some nights, I think maybe his bumper gets in front of his head. He wins wherever he goes.
Oh, yeah.
And whatever he gets in, really. I always say that Teddy Christopher is the Tony Stewart.